possible. I was going to try to do a quick presentation. Can't share my screen.
I gotcha.
Can you make that happen?
Yeah, I can make that happen.
I'll fly through it really quickly, I promise. I won't bore you to death with PowerPoint. But it just kind of helped, and that way I can speak to a quick overview of the Office of Government and Community Relations. Again, my name is Zach Moore. I'm the Vice President for Government and Community Relations. And I just, I generally get an opportunity to speak to UPUA annually. And so some of you have seen some of this before, maybe all of it before. I will try to roll through it quickly to leave time for questions. But for those of you new to UPUA, I thought it would be kind of an okay overview and a quick reminder for those who maybe haven't seen this before. So, this is our office. This is the entire office. This is everyone in the Office of Government and Community Relations. There are no others. It is one of the smallest offices at Penn State. And some of you will recognize at least one name on our org chart. But the Office of Government and Community Relations is responsible by policy and by practice to be the point of contact for government and elected officials at all levels of government for the university. And so that's important for us at the federal and state levels in particular, because there are federal and state lobbying laws that require us to report our expenditures and the issues upon which we advocate to the federal and state governments. So myself, our directors of federal relations, our director of state relations, and our associate VP for governmental health relations and state health relations associate are all registered lobbyists at either the federal or state or both levels. And so we are tasked with representing the university before those levels of government on a number of different items. I'll start real quickly with an overview of our federal legislative priorities. So again, we have Amanda and John who represent us at the federal level. Amanda Winterstein is located here at University Park campus. John Latini's in Washington, D.C. And also Sheila Bourne represents our health interests in Washington. And these are generally our big picture priorities. So we work a lot on Higher Education Act reauthorization priorities, and in particular on federal student financial aid. This is, kind of first and foremost our number one priority to ensure that we are representing to our elected officials and communicating to them how important federal student financial aid is to the success of our students. And so we talk about these issues regularly with our elected officials and their staffs when HEA is reauthorized, but also on an annual basis on the federal appropriations bills. We also talk quite a bit about federal research funding, and of our $1 billion now research portfolio, 2/3 of that, $663 million in FY19, came from the federal government. And it's really a broad-based research portfolio encompassing Departments of Defense, Agriculture, Energy. You can read them all there, but it's one of the most diverse research portfolios in the nation. And so that keeps us very busy expressing what we do with those dollars as a research institution, how those dollars ultimately benefit the nation, and advocating for those dollars to flow to institutions of higher education. And on international issues have become increasingly important over the last several years, and in particular this past administration. And so obviously we're advocating for important immigration issues like DACA, H-1B visas, and other science and security issues that are of particular interest to Congress and the administration. At the state level, I regularly tell people our top 3 priorities are budget, budget, and budget. But certainly we do, I'll go a little bit more in depth into that, but we do receive capital funding support from the state. That's, obviously for buildings. We do receive some level of research funding from the Commonwealth, mostly in areas like transportation, health and human development. agriculture. But the state also can have a big operational impact on us through all kinds of legislative initiatives and regulatory initiatives that the state can undertake. At the state, we receive more than $400 million per year, and we describe this funding to our state elected officials as this is what makes us a public university. This funding is what makes us the land grant university. And this is what separates us from private universities and enables us to offer an in-state tuition rate to Pennsylvania residents. No private university in the country offers an in-state and out-of-state tuition differential. We would be no different, but this is exactly why this $242.1 million in our education and general funding is what enables us to offer in-state tuition that's different from out-of-state tuition to our Pennsylvania resident students. We also receive $55 million to run a pretty major agricultural research and extension program. Many of you may know that we also, the Pennsylvania College of Technology in Williamsport is a subsidiary of Penn State University. They offer applied technology education in a number of different areas. And we receive funding for our Penn State Health and College of Medicine activities as well. You know, I often point out that this would be equivalent, so $400 million generally, I mean, there obviously are strings attached, but the $242 million generally is for our education and general mission broadly. And so, you know, in order to, you know, if we were a private university, in order to spin off $400 million per year, we would have to have a $9 billion unrestricted endowment. That would put us in the top 5 universities in the nation in terms of an unrestricted endowment. And the point at the bottom is not an afterthought. We are a non-preferred appropriation in the Pennsylvania Constitution. We are called a non-preferred because we are not under the complete control of the state. We are not owned by the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. We are a state-related university, sometimes referred to legally as an instrumentality of the state. And so therefore we receive a non-preferred appropriation. That means that we require, our appropriation bill annually requires a 2/3 vote of both the House and the Senate, and obviously the signature of the government in order for us to receive our non-preferred appropriation, our funding. That is a relatively high bar. That means we have to be strictly bipartisan or nonpartisan in our activities. We cannot upset any one of the kind of 4 caucuses. If you think about House Republicans, House Democrats, Senate Republicans, and then we kind of call the governor the 5th caucus, if you will, in this scenario. Any one of those 5 who does not support our appropriation, we do not get our funding that year. And so that really requires us to be very, very careful in our political dealings in the Pennsylvania State Capitol. We also do local government and community relations in our office, and we do this only for the center region. So it would be impossible for one person, Sharima Young, in our office here in Old Main, to do local government and community relations for 24 locations. So she handles those issues for the center region around University Park, and really works with all of the local municipalities. Again, most of you are familiar and aware of the borough of State College as kind of where we have the biggest impact, but there are 5 or 6 other municipalities or townships around the borough that we do have impact, and students live and our employees live in those areas and work in some cases in those areas, in those townships. We work closely with the Center County government as well on a number of different issues that kind of we have listed there. Penn State Health deals with issues at the federal, state, and local issues. The big ones at the federal level are mostly related to funding, NIH research funding, and Medicare and Medicaid reimbursement in the clinical enterprise. Have a number of state funding issues, but includes, and then even at the local level where that Penn State Health will soon be a 4-hospital system in South Central Pennsylvania. That becomes a big issue in those local communities. We also launched this a few years ago, Advocate Penn State, which is our kind of overarching broad-based advocacy effort that incorporates students, employees, parents, alums, and other supporters to advance the university's legislative and policy priorities. That's mainly an online effort. In particular, these days, it's at a distance effort. But Advocate Penn State is also the kind of umbrella under which our annual Capitol Day is held. It really just is an what we view as a way to try to get external validators, external stakeholders to speak on behalf of Penn State's priorities, to convince elected officials that Penn State funding is important, not just in Center County or not just at one of our campuses, but for the entire Commonwealth. I think I've ran through that I can't do it any quicker than that, Lexi. I mean, it's just simply impossible. So I'm happy to take questions, and I'll stop sharing so that we can see everyone.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
I'll first call on speakers on for questions.
Yep. Steven Zhang at large. First of all, thank you so much for coming in, Zach. It's always a pleasure learning about how the Penn State administration can advocate to the government on different levels. I mean, as I was a part of the Government Affairs Committee in UPUA last year, I got to see kind of the student side of it. It's always cool to get more insight onto the university side of it. My question is, especially now pertaining to how we just had our presidential election, how does a change in the federal government administration, and maybe on a smaller scale, on the state government administration, for example, if the governor were to change, impact the advocacy efforts of the OGCR?
I appreciate that question, Stephen, and it's a very good one. It's one of those things that keeps us constantly busy. So as you can imagine, it actually every year we have new people to meet. So on even numbered years, there are state and federal elections where the entire US House and the entire state House are up in even numbered years, presidential elections and gubernatorial elections in every 4 years. But municipal elections in odd numbered years keep us busy as well. So how it really changes for us is it first of all makes us meet a bunch of new people. And so depending on the turnover of elected officials, particularly mostly in the US House or PA House, would require us to meet new people. But that also creates generally a churn of staff as well. So for instance, we are making the assumption right now that President-elect Biden will staff up an entire federal administration and likely will be hiring people out of Congress in terms of staff. So, and some of those staff will come from Pennsylvania House offices that we work with regularly. They'll be moving jobs. New people will be backfilling those jobs. So regardless of even if there is expected to be, although a couple of US House members have not conceded their elections, we don't think there will be any turnover in our congressional delegation in Pennsylvania. Those are the folks we work most closely with. But even though there's no turnover, we assume there will be staff turnover. So that creates that. We also then just have to kind of change our messaging and change our style of messaging a little bit, depending on who those elected officials are. There will be different challenges in a Biden administration than there was in a Trump administration, because there just are different priorities. So we've got a lot to learn. We will do our very best to come up to speed on all of the new issues that will be priorities for a new president, for new members of we won't have new members of Congress, new state House members. In the Pennsylvania House, there's a new leadership team. There's a new House Democratic leader, and so we'll need to work a little more closely with her than we did with her predecessor. And so it's just this constant effort of learning new people, learning their style, learning what their priorities are, and then adapting our message to try to fit what we think their priority is.
Thank you.
Representative or Chair Mishler. Thanks, Lexi. Thanks for coming in, Zach, and talking with us. I'm a big fan of the work that OGCR does on behalf of students. So my question is, what does OGCR, or like, how do you guys choose and prioritize the different issues to advocate on? What is that process like?
Yeah, I appreciate that. So it's, I mean, first and foremost, I would say that, our experience allows us to determine what is possible. And so for me, lobbying and advocacy, and frankly, politics, is the art of the possible. And so we really focus our time and our efforts on things that we think we can have an impact on, things that we think might happen. So there are lots of wish list items that we would love to see happen in a 2-year period in a new legislative assembly, but we frankly know, because of either the governor would veto it, or that the state senate would never pass that bill, that we just don't have the resources or the bandwidth to spend a lot of our time on them. So that's the first kind of layer of our decision making. Is this a priority of the university? Will it benefit the university and our students and our potentially research portfolio, or some signature program that we care about? Is it possible? Are there funds there to do it? Could that legislation possibly happen? Or is this a pipe dream from someone in the administration or someone in the faculty, potentially maybe even someone, the students, that just isn't possible? And then we kind of layer all of that together to develop what we think is a priority list. And then that priority list changes as we go throughout the year and throughout a 2-year session.
All right, Representative Richardson.
Hi, Zach. Great to hear from you again.
Hi,
Sort of along those same lines, I was wondering kind of how, given the ever-changing situation with COVID, obviously state budgets are not looking very good right now. If you think if we'll see a reduction in sort of the allocation that Penn State gets this year, or if you have any sort of expectations on maybe how the pandemic will affect us, financially.
Lewis, if I could predict the future, I would be in a very different position than I am now, making a whole lot more money than I do right now. But I'm often asked to predict the future in this position. It's one of the most difficult things I have to do. I will say that the state General Assembly this week is trying to finish up the budget. And so for those of you who pay close attention to these things, in May, well in advance of the June 30th deadline, the General Assembly passed a 5/12 budget. So they budgeted for most of the state government through November 30th. But with that budget, they actually passed a full year, 12 months, funding for education, including higher education at level funding levels. So we have our appropriation bill for this current fiscal year that we're in was passed on time, was level funded for the full year. Now, there is the kind of outside chance that there could be a reduction in our budget, but I don't foresee that. I don't think that will happen. I generally believe that once funding is appropriated, it's really hard to bring it back. It's hard to rescind it. And so I don't think we'll see that in the current year, but we believe by the end of this week that the General Assembly will pass the rest of the state budget for the rest of the fiscal year. And most of the programs that they're looking at will be level funded. They might have to cut a couple of programs, or maybe go through some creative accounting to make the numbers all work, but I don't think we'll see major cuts. Next year is going to be a real challenge, though, and I'll just put a plug in early for our advocacy efforts already for next year, which will be ramping up in kind of February and March of 2021. Generally, what happens when there's a recession is that there's a kind of a tail on the recessionary effects as they impact government funding, and so I really am a little bit worried about how revenues will come into the state in the next fiscal year. And so we'll have to kind of double down our advocacy efforts and work really hard to make sure that we don't see cuts in the next fiscal year. That I'm actually even a little more worried about the 21-22 fiscal year than I am about the current fiscal year.
Representative Tierney.
Tim Tierney at large. Hi, Zach. Thanks so much for coming in. Always great to hear from you, like everyone else has stated. So my question is, how can we as students and as members of a student government be able to leverage the resources that we have to be most effective in governmental relations?
Well, I guess part of it depends on what resources you think you have. So I generally feel like in advocacy that there are two major ways to impact decision-making of elected officials. It won't be surprised to you that the first one that I think about is campaign dollars. I don't think you have many campaign I don't think you're sitting on a PAC at UPUA. If you are, please let me know about it. I'd love to hear more. So I don't think you have a political action committee, but the other way is through votes and through constituent advocacy. And so that's what I think we have at Penn State, right? With our 80,000+ students, I don't know what the number right now is, 40,000 employees, several 100,000 living alums. We have voters who care deeply about Penn State and what happens to us. But I think really importantly is again, going back to Adeline's question, first of all, you have to prioritize. I think that's really important to prioritize what you advocate for. And that's where that art of the possible, I think, comes into play, right? You have to really you can't advocate for everything that maybe you want to. You have to prioritize to a couple things. And then secondly, when you do decide to prioritize something for advocacy, you have to bring numbers to the table. Pennsylvania has 203 state house members. That's a lot. We have the second biggest state legislature in the nation, behind only New Hampshire. So a very big state legislature. But part of that means that they represent a fairly small number of people. And so it really doesn't take a lot of people to get a state legislator's attention, but it takes more than 2 or 3, and it takes more than 10. And so you really have to bring numbers and passion to this issue. And so again, it's kind of this process where you choose what's really important. And then when you do that, you prioritize it and you make it important and you bring numbers to it. Again, going back to Advocate Penn State, that's why we launched and why we did what we did with Advocate Penn State. And I don't mean to sound like a commercial, but we have had advocacy efforts in the past at Penn State, and they weren't particularly effective because they were bifurcated, right? So you had an alumni advocacy network here, and then you might have student advocacy over here, and then you had university advocacy trying to pull them together, and it kind of didn't bring all of our resources together. So when you talk about how do you maximize resources, well, you bring them together and you speak with one voice. And I think that's really critically important. And one of the things I've done since I got to Penn State is really try to make that connection with students. Again, I think I've spoken to UPUA almost every year that I've been here, and certainly since I've been the VP. And so I've really tried to make this point very clear that if we're in this together and we're bringing all of our resources together, that's how we're going to be most effective and most impactful.
All right, and with that is the final time that we have for questions. Zach, thank you again for coming in and again taking time out of your Wednesday night to do so. Feel free to stick around, but our meetings do run a little bit long. But we also know
bags under my eyes already, Lexi. But thank you for having me. I really enjoy seeing all of you. I see so many friendly faces. I appreciate your attention, and thanks for inviting me. Thank you.
Of course. Have a great night. Thank you. All right, and with that, we will now move on to our second special presentation with the chair of the Student Fee Board, Claire Kelling. Claire, again, you'll have 5 minutes to speak and then 10 minutes for questions, but thank you so much for coming in today.
Yeah, happy to be here. Can I share my screen or will you share my presentation?
I think you sent your presentation in advance. I think Speakers On got it up. Yep.
Oh, okay, hold on. There we go. All right. Well, thank you so much for having me. Yeah, my name is Claire Kelling. I'm the chair of the Student Fee Board. We can go to the next slide. So today I'll just be giving an overview of a little bit about our history, a little bit about our structure and our values. I imagine that you know some about our membership, but I'll just go over who is on our fee board. And then I think the most important part for you all to know is our process, which I'll talk about at the end. We can go to the next slide and the next one after that. So the student activity fee started in 1996, and a facilities fee was added in 2008. And really in 2016, there was a discussion about unifying the fee structures and also getting student input. So the student initiated fee started in 2017 through 2018. And then just last year, the technology fee was actually incorporated into tuition. So this is still a relatively new process. We're still figuring a lot of things out. As the student fee board members here know, we're doing a lot of internal development work. So it's a really exciting time to be part of the student fee board. Next slide, please. Okay, so what is the student fee? So you all know that you pay a per student rate, but that's not really the focus of the student fee board. When offices come to propose to us, they have a fixed dollar amount, let's say usually somewhere between $200,000. Usually it's around $200,000. Sometimes it can be up to $1 million for our larger allocations, but usually offices will come and request around $200,000 is our normal amount. So once we hear these requests, and I'll go over into the process later, in actual dollar amounts, at the very, very, very end of the process, then it's finally calculated on a per student basis. So yeah, the breakdown is on that plot on the right. Basically, the largest chunk of the fee is about facilities projects, and then recreation is another large chunk, and activities is a little bit after that. And I'll go a little bit in the next slide onto what those categories, what make up those categories. Can you go to the next slide, please? Okay. So activities, services, recreation, and programs are some of our biggest categories. Specifically within activities, we have the student activities, the Office of Student Activities, UPAC, and the Gender Equity Center. Within facilities, we recently partially funded the move of the Center for Sexual and Gender Diversity into the hub. We also funded the hub expansion. We're thinking about funding a hub expansion in the future. I believe we funded a hub expansion in the past. With services, we fund some of the services offered by CAPS, and we're the exclusive funder of student legal services. So if you've ever been to student legal services, those are funded by the student fee. You can see a little bit more here, but with wages, I think that's one of the things that most students see their student fee dollars directly benefiting students with these services, but also we employ a lot of students through campus recreation, especially. We are developing this funded by your student fee stamp, which you'll see at the top of the right images, where we will hopefully have a little bit more transparency and accountability for what the student fee exactly is funding. So it's still in the works on what that's going to look like, but please do look out for that funded by your student fee stamp in the future. We can go to the next one. Okay, so we're in the process of developing our mission, vision, and values. We had a rather bland vision or mission statement in the past, but I think this year we've done a lot of work to develop our mission, vision, and value statements into really a more comprehensive picture of what the student fee board does. So we can go to the next one. These are our mission, vision, and value statement. We just finished these a couple of weeks ago. And I highlighted a few things in bold that I think are particularly important. So for our mission, we really aim to improve and enhance the out-of-class experience through these 4 categories: facilities, recreation, services, and activities. And we really hope that students will be involved in this process, not only through things like public comment, but really submitting proposals and driving change that they want to see with the student fee. With our vision statement, again, you'll notice we have that it's driven and led by students. We really want students to be involved in this process to improve their out-of-class experience. And lastly, this year we've developed some values that we would like to hold not only ourselves, but also the offices and organizations that we fund accountable to those values. And you'll see them listed at the bottom. They're accessibility, accountability, equity, fairness, justice, sustainability, and transparency. We can go to the next one. So lastly, I'll talk a little bit about our membership. I think you know a little bit about who makes up the Student Fee Board, but we can go to the next one. So basically, the UPUA and GPSA president are automatically on the fee board, and they each have a couple of student appointees. UPUA appoints 3, GPSA appoints 2. And the other additional members of the fee board are at-large student members, which are chosen by the GPSA and UPUA president in an application process shortly after the elections in April. And usually it's stated quite explicitly that preference will be given to students without student government experiences. So within the student appointees, those people are usually involved with student government in some way or another. The at-large appointees, usually there's strong preference for people that are not associated formally with student government. So there are some additional non-voting members that are students. First, we have an at-large alternate, and that's usually somebody that applied to be a at-large member, but they're an alternate member and they'll sub in, for example, when somebody needs a proxy. The UPAC chair is also a non-voting member, and they always provide a really helpful perspective on UPAC operations. And lastly, we have a director of communications to help us with our transparency and with communicating with the student body. Okay, so now we'll go into the process, which I think, again, is the most important part, I think, for all of you. You can go to the next one. So in April and May, we have our member selection and our chair election really as soon as possible after the student governments are elected. One of the first things that you do as a president is you're contacted about finding who's going to be on the student fee board. I think it was one of the first items of business as president for me. It was, okay, who's going to be on the student fee board? So it's a really exciting, really fast moving process in the spring to get people appointed. And then over the summer and the fall, we have some training and internal development. Usually we aren't that active in the summer and the fall, but I think this year we piloted a new training program that I thought was super effective. So I'm hoping that will allow us to get off to a running start a lot faster this year. From November, December through February, we'll have formal hearings where offices and organizations will come in and give a 20-minute presentation and then have about 20 minutes for questions. So that's really when people are really accountable to the student body, is when we're asking those questions of the different offices and organizations that are coming in. In February and March, we'll have our deliberations where we'll talk about the hearings and make formal recommendations at the end in March to the Vice President for Student Affairs and President Barron. So throughout this whole process, I just want to mention that there is public comment during every single meeting, even when we have hearings, even when we have full agendas. Just like UPUA, we have open student forum public comment where people can come in, share their thoughts about what they think the student fee should be spent on, if they have a perspective on the hearings that are going on either that day or the previous week. People are always welcome in our meetings to share their thoughts, and we really encourage that. We've already had pretty good engagement this year in our public comment, and that's wonderful, but really if anyone has thoughts, we would encourage you to come. And you should just email us for the Zoom information if you're interested. My email's on the next slide. But also our agendas are posted on social media. We're active on Twitter and Instagram, so I'd encourage you to follow us and communicate our agendas with your constituents. I think it's really important that people know what the Student Fee Board is doing for students. And yeah, I think the last thing I want to say is that we we'll have a meeting this Friday to cover student fee refunds. So if you're passionate one way or the other, I think there's still a lot to be talked about and investigated in that process, but we are encouraging people to come in and come to public comment if you are passionate about that issue. But that's the Student Fee Board email. If you have any questions or you'd like the Zoom information, I'd encourage you to contact us and let us know. And I'd be happy to take any questions.
And with that, are there any questions for Claire? Representative Loscalzo?
Hi, Ryan Loscalzo, Line Pride Representative. My question is, the student fee board, like other kind of university entities, can kind of be mysterious at times to students. What are you guys working on in order to make it more transparent and, have a more direct impact on students and for them to recognize what you do?
Yeah, thank you for that question. So that's one of our primary focuses this year, is trying to be more transparent and be more accountable to the student body. I think one of the main ways that we're doing that this year is by having this funded by your student fee stamp. We're really trying to communicate with students how student fee dollars are being spent. And oftentimes, if you don't look at our agenda or come to our meetings, you don't really know what exactly we fund. So I think that funded by your student fee stamp, once it's finished, will be a really helpful way for students to learn more about how their student fee dollars are spent. We're also trying to be more active on social media to meet students where they are. We just started an Instagram account this year, and we have Fee Funded Friday, which every week we post either an event or an office or a highlight of something or some program that the fee board funds. And I think that's an effort to try to really meet students where they are and try to communicate more about what exactly the fee board funds, not only in terms of offices and organizations, but in terms of specific programs and services.
Okay, with that, are there any other questions? All right, seeing none. Claire, again, thank you so much for coming in tonight and presenting to us. It's nice to see you again in the week. But with that, feel free to stick around if you'd like. But again, our meetings do run long, so feel free to also hop off. But again, thank you so much.
Yeah, can I just say one more time, please come to public comment. We'd love to hear from you. It's never a pain in any way. We really want to hear from students. And I hear time and time again that when we actually hear from students in public comment, it's a really wonderful experience. I'm sure you know that too from student government, that it's always nice when people come in. But please do come. You can always reach out to me for the Zoom information and I'd be happy to share it. So thank you so much for your time. It's great to see you all.
Thank you. Alrighty, and with that, we will now move down the agenda with Open Student Forum. Is there anyone here for Open Student Forum? If you're an attendee, if you raise your hand, I will be able to see it, but just putting that out there, I'll give it a minute, see if there is anyone. All right. Seeing no one for Open Student Forum, we'll move down the agenda with a report by me, since we did move the President McKay's report down. With that, fairly light week as it is before break. This past Tuesdays, President McKay and I met with Provost Jones. We brought up Wellness Days, specifically about the 3 days that are being allocated to us, what the process was, why it is only 3 days, if there's the possibility of advocating for 4 or possibly more. I know Chair Baranji as well as Chair Mishler is working with the Wellness Day committees. So I know they'll be advocating on behalf of students, but there wasn't much. I think there's been kind of a consensus that it is 3 days, specifically because of the complexities of classes and faculty also dealing with it as well. I believe it's 1 Tuesday, 1 Thursday, and 1 Wednesday. So the Tuesday, Thursday professors are already losing a week. And then on top of that, they can't do Mondays and Fridays out of the sake of not creating a 3-day weekend and having people travel. So that's kind of the consensus, and the reasoning behind the 3 days is more the complexity behind it. Then on Wednesday, President McKay, well, today, President McKay and I met with Vice President Sims. Again, we have bi-weekly meetings with him. Some of the things that we brought up were just kind of policy things that President McKay and I ran on this past summer, specifically the POW MIA chair in Beaver Stadium. That was in the works up until COVID hit and things kind of went haywire. And President McKay is just trying to get that ball rolling again.
let's see. And on top of that, we just discussed the board meetings and the board leadership meetings that we had last week with him. But yeah, as always, if there are any other questions, never hesitate to text President McKay or I, or group me message or Teams message. We're always willing to relay any questions that you may have. And then also last week, actually, President McKay and I attended a meeting for the Multicultural Association of Schreyer Scholar. It's a small organization within Schreyer, but they are a very resilient group. There's 7 of them and they're doing amazing work. They just invited us to come just to kind of speak to us, learn a bit more about UPUA, and then we learned more about their organization. And that was really nice just to meet everyone there, and hopefully continue collaboration from there as well. But as I also mentioned, we had the Board of Trustees leadership meeting last week. Our primary point of the agenda was the climate action petition. There was a bit of pushback, but I believe the student government leadership is very persistent on this topic and will be continuing it, especially with the fact that a new chair of the Board of Trustees was elected in the last full board meeting. So the new chair is Matt Schuyler and the new vice chair is David Kleppinger. So there is now a change in board leadership as an update to you all. But with that, I am very excited to go on break. I hope you guys are too. I hope you stay healthy, stay safe. Please take a mental break from school. Just do something you like, do something you enjoy, find a hobby if you know, learn something new, whatever it is. I hope you guys have a good break, and then come back stronger for finals as that is slowly approaching. But with that, I'll take any questions. Oh, I actually see a hand raised. Director Benuelos, is it a question for me or was it specifically for Open Student Forum? I can allow you to speak to, I believe.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, it was the thing that I messaged you about. Is now the time? Sorry, I just got in.
No, yeah, that's at the it's at executive reports at the end. It's right after President McKay's report, actually. It's Chief Justice, President McKay, and then executive reports. But if you want,
Okay,
if you
yeah,
can also,
sorry. I
yeah,
just didn't know where in the agenda we were at the moment. It kind of sounded like you were about to end the meeting, and I was like, "Yo, wait, no, I gotta say something."
no, you're good. There's definitely an allotted time for you if you want to wait till then, especially since Open Student Forum is a limit of 2 minutes, and I know I just want to give you ample time as well.
Yeah, no, I'll wait, no problem. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't gonna get like skipped over. You know what I mean?
No, you're good. I appreciate you checking though.
All right.
Okay. Actually, all right. With that, are there any questions? Okay, seeing none, we will now move down the agenda with liaison/affiliate reports. If you're a liaison or affiliate and have a report, please raise your hand. All right, seeing none, we'll move down the agenda, and seeing no old business, we will now move on to a 5-minute caucus breakout. All right, we will now start with new business, starting with Resolution 4215, supporting the Transgender Day of Remembrance and Transgender Visibility Week. Representative Loscalzo, if you'd like to introduce this.
Thank you. Yes, so this Friday is the Transgender Day of Remembrance, and this week is it's Transgender Visibility Week. Transgender Day of Remembrance occurs on November 20th, and it memorializes those who have been murdered and persecuted as a result of transphobia. It was started back in the 90s after a transgender African-American woman was murdered. And since then, the Transgender Day of Remembrance has been a time to remember those that the community has lost within the past year. Traditionally, this is done with memorial services and saying the names of the people. And Transgender Awareness Week, which occurs the 7 days before, is kind of to bring advocacy and awareness about the trans community and people within that community. Tomorrow is actually the Center for Sexual and Gender Diversity are going to be hosting a virtual vigil to remember transgender individuals around the country. Normally the vigil's in person, but due to COVID, it's going to be virtual on Facebook. And this resolution just comes out in support of that and comes out in support of not only the Day of Remembrance and Trans Visibility Week, but other advocacy efforts that people in the community might do to elevate this community. I stand for questions.
Are there any questions for Representative Loscalzo? All right, seeing no questions, is there any discussion? Representative Gibbard?
Yeah, hi, Sydney Gibbard, College of Engineering. I just wanted to give a huge shout out to Ryan for putting this together. He was contemplating it, I think, in our last J&E meeting or something, and then pulled it together for assembly tonight. So huge shout out to him. It's a really great piece of legislation and supporting a really great cause. So yeah.
Representative Bose?
Erin Bose at large. I'm also in such support of this. I remember going to the Day of Remembrance last year, and it's definitely a really touching event. And so I'm sure it's going to be even more touching online as well. So please make sure to show up and make sure that we still have that sense of community, even though we're online.
Chair Rodriguez?
Najee Rodriguez, College of the Liberal Arts. I just wanted to state that I will be there tomorrow, and like Aaron's Representative Bo said, I encourage everyone else to be there too. Furthermore, I just wanted to really express my support to Representative Loscalzo for writing this and keeping us updated with all the advocacy that's being undertaken by certain representative bodies, and I really appreciate that. And I hope in the future that we have further advocacy just like this, because this is great, and I know a lot of students really appreciate this. So thank you so much.
All right, is there any other discussion? All right, seeing no further discussion, I'm going to close the floor. And with that, same rules apply. Speakers on will be sending the form into Microsoft Teams. So head over to the General Assembly Teams to cast your vote. If you're having any technical difficulties, as always, just message me on Zoom privately so that I can get your vote down. But yeah, head over to Teams, and I'm not going to give it much as I usually do. So please head over as soon as you can, and I will announce the vote soon. Thank you. There's still a couple of you that need to vote. I'm getting responses fairly slowly. So again, if you can head over to Teams now. As always, if there are any technical difficulties, just message me. Last call, I'm going to give it 30 seconds. There's still a couple of you that need to vote, but this is the last call, so head over to Teams now. All right, just give me a second to get the votes together. All right, with that, resolution 4215 supporting the Transgender Day of Remembrance and Transgender Visibility Week passes with a vote of 27-0-1. Before I continue, I'm kind of disappointed by the turnout of that vote. It's not hard to head over to Teams and vote. It's also, I know it's the Wednesday before break, but frankly, that's not very excusable. So please just hang on in there, we're almost done, but I really don't want to see that kind of turnout again. So please be more engaged as we're going through voting and legislation as we move forward. With that, we'll move on to report by the Chief Justice, Chief Justice Schuchman.
Okay, hi everyone. Pretty short report tonight. We held our fourth and final community group seat work session this past Friday, so that will be the last work session of the semester. We are still in the process of reviewing community group seat reapplications, and as of now, we have received the applications from every group that needed to reapply except for the Panhellenic Council and the Interfraternity Council. So we are still waiting on those two groups, but we have been working our way through the other 5 groups that have reapplied. And that is all.
Are there any questions for Chief Justice Schuchman? Representative Loscalzo?
Ryan Loscalzo, line Pride Representative. I just wanted to ask, how is the search for the next Chief Justice going?
Yes, thank you for asking. So as of now, we have closed that application. Zach and I believe will be interviewing the applicant sometime either this week or next week. We still haven't really figured out an exact time yet due to the holiday coming up. But once that interview moves through, if Zach does choose to appoint the candidate, that candidate will be appointed. And if he chooses to appoint someone else, of course, it is a presidential appointment. So the final decision is up to President McKay.
All right, Representative Robertson.
Hi, Noah Robertson, at large. My question is, I guess, about like JBoard meetings and stuff. I know I asked in the group me at one point if it's possible for like minutes to be published for JBoard meetings. I'm just really curious to see like what the third branch of UPUA is up to and see how like meetings go. I don't know if they're public, if we're able to attend, and like if that information is available for us to know as well, what goes on in JBoard meetings. But yeah, if minutes are available, I don't know if there's a way, like I was missing to find them, but yeah, if you could just clarify about that, like I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So to answer your question, and I know that you and I have spoken about this before, we do have minutes from, I know at least all of the meetings this semester. We did not have a meeting this Monday, so 2 days ago, because we did have no new business to discuss. Those minutes I do have available. I don't believe that they're on the website, but I can definitely speak to, I believe, whoever handles the website about that, and get those published. The link is also, I thought it was available in Teams, but I may need to make it available in another channel as well. I may have accidentally put in the closed channel. But to answer your second part of your question, JBoard meetings are public. The only portions that wouldn't be public are votes or any sort, or sorry, not votes, any sort of discussion of private or confidential information, but that doesn't typically happen at JBoard meetings. So I would say that the majority of them are fully open to the public.
Thank you.
All right, are there any other questions for Chief Justice Schuchman? All right, seeing none. Next on the agenda is a report by President McKay since it was moved. I don't know if he's on though. I'm gonna keep moving down the agenda, and until I see him pop up, I will then move to his agenda, but I just don't want to stall for more time. All right, we'll move on to executive reports. Director Benuelos, if you'd like to report what you need to know, definitely do so.
Perfect. Hello. Sorry, I still don't really know how all of this works. You know me, technology. I don't know. All right. So, hi everyone. My name is Joseph. I've met a lot of you already. I am the director of alumni relations, but I am also the person in charge of Giving Tuesday for the UPUA. For those of you who don't know, Giving Tuesday is a global day of giving designed to encourage people across the world to donate to different organizations or do good just in general. Right, so each year Penn State takes part in this and it asks all of its networks to donate to an org of their choosing. And for the past few months, I've been working with the Department of Development to get UPUA ready for this. So this year, Giving Tuesday is December 1st, all right? It's December 1st, which is also the first Tuesday after we get back from break. So this is where everyone in the assembly comes into.
Did he freeze for anyone else? Okay.
Yeah.
I'll give him a sec.
Mix is low and I'm gonna have a lot of time on my hands.
Wait, Joseph, can you start over? You froze for a solid 15 seconds.
Oh, that's great. I love that. Okay, what part did you lose me at?
Just start from after your introduction because it was a little spotty from there.
Okay, I'll get the long story short version. No one wants to hear me talk for 5 years. So Giving Tuesday is a day of global giving, right? We're trying to encourage people to get involved and everything like that. And every year Penn State helps its orgs become a part of this. And by throwing it out to Penn State's large network to get people to donate. So for the past few months, I've been working with the Department of Development to get UPUA ready for this. And this is where everyone comes into play. Since campus is shut down and because of the pandemic, we're not allowed, we can't really ask people to donate in person. So we have to rely on social media and word of mouth a lot more. So in the coming weeks, you're gonna be getting a lot of emails from me just about everything, how this is gonna work. You're gonna get links to the website. You're gonna get a bunch of different graphics that I'm gonna be working with Christy to produce. And we're gonna try to raise a lot of money for the UPUA. Our goal is to establish an endowment. That way, everyone of the UPUA, our entire assembly, can benefit from this for internal development and other projects. Last year, we raised about $2,700. So our goal this year is $2,000. We gotta make it safe, right? So I'm going to be working with Chrissy to make different graphics. That way we can post all over social media. And I'm also going to be sending out email templates that you can email everyone you know. And hopefully, yeah, Chrissy says she can't wait. I'm very excited for this. And then also keep an eye out if I email you individually. A big project that I've been working on is establishing a alumni directory, and that includes positions. So if you have a position, I might email you individually and hopefully reach out to some of your predecessors. So hopefully they get some one-on-one communication. And I don't know if I mentioned this, but Giving Tuesday is December 1st. Yeah, it's December 1st, the first Tuesday after break. And finally, one last thing. So in my strategy meetings with development, they found that if you have tactile projects that you have that the money can go to, it really helps people more willing to donate. Sorry, I'm scatterbrained right now. So Michael and myself and Chrissy and Zach, we're all hoping to get input from you guys about any projects that you're working on that could need funding, that could really benefit from some type of donation whatsoever. I'm probably going to be setting up a forums and sending it in Teams as well as emailing it. That way you can just submit your projects that you're working on. And we're probably going to ask you to submit a short little video that we can post on social media, introducing yourself and how the project can benefit everyone from Penn State. So yeah, thank you. If anyone has any questions, feel free to just let me know, email me.
All right, are there any questions for Joseph or Joe? As he said, feel free to email him as well, but thank you so much. With that, are there any other executive reports? If so, just please raise your hand. If not, I'll keep moving on. All right, seeing none, we will now move on to report by the speaker. Speakers on.
Hi guys, happy Wednesday. I hope everyone's having a great week. Make sure you're being tested for COVID before returning home if you are. Please have safe travels and make sure that we're all being responsible over Thanksgiving break. You know, meeting with friends and family doesn't necessarily mean that all of them will be immune. So I think we just want to make sure that we are exercising our best judgment when we are gathering in potentially larger areas. A few quick announcements. So Representative Clipstein resigned Sunday. He will be joining the executive branch to continue his advocacy efforts, and this is something that was cleared with the Judicial Board, I believe. So that means that the at-large representative application will be open over this week, as well as Thanksgiving break. I'll be looking to close them for the steering of the Sunday after Thanksgiving, and we'll be attempting to bring them in for the first meeting we have in December. Please share that with your friends and colleagues when that comes out, and anyone, including assembly staffers that are part of the UPUA right now, are able to apply. I'll be meeting with and onboarding 4 new assembly staffers sometime this week. We have a few more applicants, so we're looking to have additional assistance in the committees. For anyone who is, meeting a few new assembly staffers, please, reach out to them, say hi. I think it's definitely intimidating. I'm sure we took quite a while to kind of get on board, even with representatives and such. So as new staffers come in, new people come into committees, be sure to welcome them, reach out to them, maybe have a conversation, see what they're interested in, how we can help them and such. It's kind of hard because we don't have that communication like we would be in person, but that makes it all the more important to make sure that everyone is feeling like they are invited and actively participating. One other thing is, I don't know why I'm doing this to myself, but I'll be hosting office hours all across break to do elections code changes. So I'm looking to have office hours 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. So 2 hours every day, starting this Friday, all the way until next Saturday, except for Thanksgiving break, except for Thanksgiving Day, to just be open for people to come in real quick, talk about elections code. I'll also be adding a temporary Teams channel for elections code, sending a copy in there so that we can be doing edits. I'm hoping to bring that in the first meeting that we're back as well. So that's going to be potentially a longer meeting. I want to make sure we're on the same page as that. It's super important because we talk about expanding UPUA's availability and accessibility to students. And that means that, as soon as we can get elections code down, we're able to, go out to those communities, say, hey, UPUA elections are going to work this way this year. Here's exactly what you need to get involved. Typically, we do it maybe 2-3 weeks out from the election, but if we get the earlier we can get it passed, the earlier we can go out to those communities and say, you guys have a, you guys have a chance to run for these things, and catch them hopefully earlier than we do every other year, and make sure that we just have greater involvement. So yeah, I'll be, yeah, like Ryan said, hopefully this isn't a multi-meeting, 6-hour meeting each long discussion. But then that's why it's crucially important that we come to some of my office hours, make some edits in the teams as we go. But yeah, hopefully it's going to be a great time. I'll let everyone know if I do cancel stuff, hopefully with at least 12 hours notice, so that people aren't being left without any notice. But I'm hoping to keep that schedule just 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. 2 hours every day except for Thanksgiving Day. Mark that on your calendars. But yeah, thanks. I'll stand for questions.
Are there any, Representative Loscalzo?
Ryan Loscalzo, line Pride Representative. My question is, could you like send out just like a sheet of like suggestions people suggested during previous election code meetings, so we know what like has been brought up already, what we're working on, etc.?
Yeah, totally. And that's what we're going to use with the Teams channel, where it's just going to be copy of elections code, and then I'll just put down all the changes under it, and see everyone can either add directly to the document the changes they want to see, or directly add into new threads in the channel, so that we don't necessarily have to have everyone present to discuss some of these things, and people can just drop their thoughts in over a break if they have different ideas. But yeah, I'll definitely do that.
Representative Robertson?
Hi, Noah Robertson at large. Hey, could you just clarify like what the process is for selecting the next at-large representative to fill Representative, or I guess ex-Representative Clipstein's seat? Like, is it an appointment from you, and then do we confirm it, or is it just an appointment? I was unsure.
Yeah, at-large vacancies through the year are filled through the application process, from which myself and steering work together to select a few individuals to interview, and then we choose one to bring to the floor for confirmation.
All right, are there any other questions for speakers on? All right, seeing none, and I see President McKay on. President McKay, if you'd like to give your report.
Oh, hello everyone. I hope you're doing well. I'm here in the UPUA office tonight, just finishing up an exam in Econ 402. Quite a lot of fun, and when I say that, I don't really mean it, but I'd be happy to talk about it and any exams that you might be taking and how we can work through these really not so fun times together. I hope you're doing well in your classes though, all things considered. And very similar to Stephen, feel free to set up one of those office hours with me if you'd like to chat about that a little bit more too. Just a few updates to run by everyone, kind of administrative things. So the Executive Director of Finance has officially submitted her letter of resignation. Since that application was made available on the UPUA website, and you can find it at upua.org/applications. If you know anybody who's interested in finances and might be an accounting major and is just super interested in learning what it's like to run an organization of over $100,000 in student fee dollars, send them to that page, and feel free to encourage them to ask any questions that they might have using the emails on that same page, and we'd be happy to answer them. Let's see, second, as was mentioned, Representative Clipstein has since resigned his role as a representative. This past Monday, I appointed him to the role of Deputy Chief of Staff for Policy, an executive staff role designed to help the Vice President and I maintain a kind of just a check on everything that we ran on this past year. As we are finding time is slipping, and the list of things that we did run on and want to make sure that we're holding ourselves to is not growing any shorter. But we do we are excited at the progress that's been made so far. And I'm looking forward to having him help us really just maintain tabs on all of that. I also just want to thank former Representative Clipstein for all of his hard work and years of service to the UPUA. He has devoted quite a lot of his life to this organization and to making this university better. And so I'm very grateful for all of his hard work. On Thursday, Lexi and I met with our fellow student government executives and the leadership of the Board of Trustees, as well as some university administrators to talk about several things, but one of those was climate action, as was addressed by the UPUA a little bit ago and by all of the other student governments not long before. And so obviously it was a top priority for students. We did get some discussion out of the conversation. There was some pushback from the leadership of the board, but I am very grateful to relay that there are conversations in the works, which will be announced by the university, hopefully sometime soon, about some steps which the administration themselves can take to help address the challenge before us, which in many ways is the greatest of our lives. And so I'm very grateful to everyone who's really getting the ball rolling there and for your help in making that happen. We do have a new chair of the board. There was an election following our meeting with the board leadership, and so Matt Schuyler has taken over. I'd like to wish him the absolute best of luck chairing the board. I can only imagine what that's like. I'm sure Lexi has a lot that she can teach him in terms of chairing a meeting like ours. But I look forward to building a pretty strong relationship with him and the student trustee, as well as the next student trustee, whenever that process is completed sometime later next spring, and helping solidify a better relationship between the UPUA and the board. That's about it. I would be happy to answer any questions. And I hope that you're all doing very well.
Are there any questions for President McKay? Representative Loscalzo?
Ryan Loscalzo, Line Pride Representative. This question is directed towards your position as a member of the Student Fee Board. I was reading through some of the stuff about the hub expansion, and I was kind of confused about like the layout. Is there any like additional materials you guys received about like what their plans are, some more concrete like diagrams or anything? I would just be interested in it if there are any.
Yeah, well, thank you, Representative Loscalzo. That's a very good question. There were diagrams that we were presented with. Just to my knowledge, just general kind of like outlines and blueprints as to what those designs might look like, but nothing has been super specified in terms of which office is going where and things like that. I don't have those materials. I don't believe they were sent to the individual members, but I can do two things for you. First, check with the chair herself, Claire Kelling, and see if she has access to that and can share it with me. If so, I'd be happy to share it with the General Assembly. And I can also see if that document and others can be put on the Student Fee Board website. But I guess that would be more of their administrative house than mine.
Thank you.
Sure thing.
Are there any other questions for President McKay? All right, seeing none, we will now go back to where we were with comments of the committees, starting with Academic Affairs, Chair Barungi.
Hi, I just really want to say thank you to all the reps and exec members who helped me out with tabling this week. I really appreciate it. Can you hear me? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I also just want to say that like, even though we're technically done tabling, I'll still be in the office this week to kind of package up the books that we're going to be shipping to students. So if anybody wants to help out with that, that would be great. And yeah, the rest of my report is just on the longer UPUA, like, sorry, I forgot what it was called, agenda. Okay. Thanks guys. Have a good rest of your night.
Are there any questions for Chair Barungi? All right, seeing none, we will now move on to facilities with Chair Jordan.
Hi everyone, happy Wednesday. Hang in there, we're almost at Friday, which means that we're almost at break. My report tonight is, if you haven't done so already, please fill out the survey for our bike-friendly campus. Rob DeMayo from Transportation really wants as many responses as possible. It took maybe 5 minutes to fill out. If you're not familiar with the bikes on campus, that's okay. There's an option for you to say, I'm not familiar. Literally any response counts. They've done a lot to help us, so this is something that we can do to help them to get our ranking higher in the bike world. On last week, me and Representative Dillon working with a prescription Dropbox team. So look for graphics being posted tomorrow. Shout out to Chrissy. She's an awesome with posting graphics, so thank you so much. So this is going to be utilizing the drug take back program that's located in Eisenhower Building. The engineering capstone team has modified the Dropbox this past semester, and they're finally ready to spread awareness. Sorry guys, I can't talk. Spread awareness for this initiative. So if you have any unused prescription drugs and you need to get rid of them before going home for break, please take advantage of it. Tell your friends, tell anyone you may know. And then my other things in my report is, quick updates with transportation. They're working on the west parking deck, which is really exciting. So yeah, just check out the rest of my report for more updates. But facilities, we will not be meeting this Sunday. Please enjoy your Thanksgiving. Everyone enjoy your Thanksgiving. And as always, if you have any questions, I'm here for you all.
Are there any questions for Chair Jordan? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to governmental affairs with Chair Doherty. I don't think he's here, but Representative Vice Chair Risser, if you wanted to offer anything, if not, I can also move on.
Hello, nothing from me this week. Gov will not be meeting this Thursday. Have a great break.
Thank you very much. All right. We will go on to Justice and Equity with Chair Rodriguez.
Hi everyone, happy Wednesday. Hope everyone's surviving the week, and I hope you have an even more survivable Thanksgiving break, and I hope it's really fun for you. Just some quick updates in regards to what J&E has been working on. For those of you that did not get the message during the meeting, there will be no committee meeting on Friday. However, what we will be having is an initiative work session for student disability resources from 3 o'clock to 3:30 p.m. The Zoom link is posted there. And if anyone in the General Assembly is interested in participating in this, even if you're not a member, feel free to contact me if this is something that really speaks out to you. We'd love to have you involved. We're also kind of working on advancing the physical vouchers. I met with Student Legal Services the other day, where we were kind of assuaged that we would be able to continue with this and that there was no matter of legality that would be preventing this from happening. So that's just an update to the other representatives that were also kind of in the loop with that project as well. Thank you so much for all that, for everyone that attended the We Are Still Here speaker series and the other programming events that were helmed by the Indigenous Peoples Student Association. It was really exciting and it was really informative, and I'll be working with President McKay on just uploading those videos to UPUA's YouTube account, as was recommended by Representative Byrd, so we're really excited to do that. I hope everyone has a relaxing break, and just feel free to contact me if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, or if you just want to talk. Bye, have a great Wednesday.
Are there any questions for Chair Rodriguez? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to student life with Chair Mishler.
Hi, everybody. So the two biggest things for me and the work being done this week, mostly in terms of programming, getting things settled before we head off into the break with our sexual assault team, working with the executive directors there, and then also our mental health and wellness team who is doing great work. So biggest thing for all of you to have on your radars is the Art with Impact event, which is on November 30th, which is a mandated event. So we'll be sending reminders, but that is the Monday right after break concludes. It's happening virtually, I believe from like 6 to 7:30. It's a really great event. You all will be there, but it's super important to support students who are sharing their mental health experiences and journeys here at Penn State, navigating resources, hearing from university officials on the resources that can be offered, and then also having really engaging dialogues on topics like race and the pandemic and mental health and how all of that is so important in our lives as students. So I can't wait to see you all of you there, and we'll be reaching out to, if we haven't already, to some of you just to really make sure that we're engaging communities and making this impactful for all. So if we do reach out, I hope that you'll work with us to help make that all possible. And please, just all of you as reps, do your due diligence as sending that out. The marketing materials are ready, and I will get connected with comms to make sure that those are circulated heavily. Really, that is it. No committee this week. So yay for that. I would also love to set up some bonding. So maybe stay posted in a group meet for that. Something really cool we did at committee last week, not really cool, everyone else thought it was lame, but whatever, was just sharing like something that you can offer to the group. So, and like be like a resource hub for people. So I encourage you to like share what you can offer to people, just in casual conversations. And then, hey, I can go to that person if I ever need this or that or whatever. So come to me if you ever want to like talk or like get in your bag. I am right there for you. Really excited for this break. And I am a senior, kind of, getting ready to close out. So you younger, stressed out reps, please come to me. I want to be a resource. I want to give back. So many people in UPUA did that for me, and I want to do that for you and every single one of you here. Sorry, I'm totally on a rant here. But yeah, let's get connected. Let's have a good time. Let's impact each other. Let's make Penn State better. Let's have a good break. I will see you all soon.
Are there any questions for Chair Mishler? Alrighty, seeing none, we will now move on to comments for the good of the order. Are there any comments for the good of the order? Representative Bose?
Aaron Bose at large. I'll make this pretty brief. Just so everybody knows, the employee, I always get the name wrong, the Employee Training Advisory Committee on Mandatory Bias Training for all faculty, it's a mouthful, will be meeting next Monday, even though there's break. We'll be meeting at 3 on Monday. We are nearing the very end of the committee because President Barron wanted everything due in 6 weeks. I think next week is either 5 or 6. We just today had met as well. I was only able to make it to half of the meeting because I had class, but we drafted a really rough draft of the proposal. So if anyone has any suggestions or questions or concerns about anything, please reach out to me. The time's almost running up before we get the proposal out there. And then also be on the lookout for some more alternative grading educational information to come in the next couple of weeks. I know that the team is working really hard to make sure that we get as much information out as possible so that everyone is informed making their decisions. So look out for that, and please be sure to share that with everybody. But have a nice break and see y'all soon.
All right, Representative Robertson.
Hi, everyone. I just had like 3 quick things. One, I mean, we had Chrissy and Joseph show up today. They're doing fantastic work. I didn't know that Giving Tuesday really was a thing UPUA did, but the executive branch did, and I'm sure there's a lot more stuff going on that I'm unaware of. And so I just want to take a second, really express like that gratitude to students who are, so passionately committed to student government, like Joseph and Chrissy. I think it's amazing. Like, so many students are working towards bettering student life, which is fantastic. A second thing was I helped out with tabling this week with Academic Affairs Committee, and I really enjoyed the experience of sitting in the UPUA office with a mask on with like 3 other people in there, just spread out socially. It's really rare that I get to talk to anyone from UPUA outside of Zoom, and that was just a truly like fantastic experience that I didn't get last year. I was on JBoard, didn't really come to the office, but it was amazing getting to see everyone in person. And I'd love to see, if the university is planning on continuing its COVID mitigation policies in the hub specifically, maybe we could have some sort of like committee of the whole, and we can deliberate about like the who, the when, why, hows of using office space perhaps for spring semester. I know like right now, exec board members, like executive directors, steering, Zach and Lexi get access to the office. And it's kind of lonely as a rep, you never get to meet anyone. If there's a way we can somehow schedule like times for reps to come in and spread out socially, we can, have like a designated entrance and exit like it is right now. I would love to maybe collaborate on setting something like that up, or if we're able to work towards that in some capacity, I think that'd be great. And then the third thing is, have a great break, everyone. Get tested if you're planning on leaving campus. I think like it ends tomorrow. And also over break, I'm open to Zoom coffee dates. If anyone wants to like just hang out for a half hour, I'll be home with family and board for 99% of the time. I think I sent my phone number in the group me a little bit ago, but I'd love to get to know you all, see what projects you're passionate about, and get to know you outside of like this UPUA context. So yeah, have a great night, everyone.
Representative Loscalzo.
Okay, 3 quick things. Thanks everyone for passing my piece of legislation tonight. It was I'm really happy it got through. Make sure if you want to come out tomorrow, well, not actually go out, go on Facebook and watch it. It's going to be streamed there for the Trans Day of Remembrance. Another queer event is Loud and Queer on Wednesday, December 2nd, where it's going to be students can enjoy speeches and discussions about topics in the community and such. It sounds something interesting, something it's the Center for Sexual and Gender Diversity is sponsoring that event. And then finally, the community group changes me and Chair Rodriguez have been working on are starting to be finished up soon. Hopefully we'll get them done by the end of the semester and you guys can all look at them, but it looks really promising. And then one final thing, well, as Lion Pride representative, I represent all of the queer and trans students, and that includes some of the people in here. And I'd love to not only get to know them, but everyone else as well. And I think it's really good for us to try to like bond more, and especially like it can be very isolating for even a lot of us in COVID, but especially for queer students. And I want to use my position to try to help us bond together and such. So reach out if you want to.
Representative Gary.
Hi. I just wanted to say I put it in the group me and the teams, but if anybody has any questions about caps, please reach out to me because I have none. Yeah. Maybe questions about what it's gonna look like over break. That would be cool. You can email me or text me, and just don't call me because I won't answer. Other than that, I will. You could talk to me anyway. Thanks. Questions about caps? Think about them. Thank you.
Are there any other comments for the good of the order? Representative Scher.
I mean, at this point, I really want, everyone to, take care of themselves, like especially the mental stuff. Because recently, I didn't notice that I have some, health issues, and eventually because of some, stress issues. I was like hospitalized for 2 days. So that was pretty bad. So really like, and I never thought I would like have this sort of issues. So it's like really important to, take care of, the mental health. Like even though you think you are fine, you are okay, but your body probably not think so. So really like take care of yourselves. Also like, right now like I keep myself eating healthy, go for a run like for 2 miles a day ish. So make myself like healthy, just make sure, everybody stay safe, stay healthy.
Are there any other comments for the good of the order? President McKay.
Everyone, quick last thing, with Thanksgiving coming up, I just wanted to again express my sincere gratitude for all of your hard work over this year. This has, as we've all acknowledged now in one way or another, not been easy. But your continued dedication and commitment have proven to me that I think Penn State students are some of the absolute finest advocates on this planet. Whether that be through your pushing for alternative grading and the bringing about of as it's been said before, a culture of care on this campus, or advocating easier transportation to the election polling sites to ensure that students can have their voices heard. You are my inspirations, and I am just so incredibly grateful to work alongside you. Thank you for all of your hard work. Please do keep you and your family safe over this break. Get tested if you haven't already. Wear a mask, and stay safe. I care about you guys.
Ditto to that. Chair Baranji.
Sorry, I couldn't figure out how to raise my hand in webinar, but I just really want us to make sure that we acknowledge that I think this is one of the funniest assemblies to exist. Like, you all literally genuinely entertain me so much, and actually make me laugh. And yeah, so I hope you all know that I find you all hilarious and funny. And I'm so glad that like whatever tension existed in the beginning of the assembly has really lifted, because I think it's given us a chance to kind of like see each other for who we are and really have that kind of lighthearted, fun culture where we're able to like easily joke and really kind of treat each other like family. So just hope you know that you're all funny. And if you think that you're not funny, you can send me memes and I will be the judge of that. Thank you. Good night.
All right, Chair Rodriguez.
Hi, I love you guys too, but mine's more work related. I'm so sorry to damage the mood. But I will be sending out, to expand on what Representative Loscalzo said earlier, we will be sending out the official policy on Friday. So please look forward to that, and please scour the policy in any way that you can. Put on your eyeglasses, contacts, look at it as it is, very in a refined manner, and get back to us about any sorts of criticisms, comments, questions. We'd be more than happy to answer those before it comes to an official vote. So please just be cognizant of that coming to your inboxes on Friday to start your weekend off on the right note. Okay, thanks everyone. Have a great rest of your week. Bye.
Representative Robertson.
Hi, this was more so just a question for Chair Rodriguez. I don't know if I could ask it about like the policy. Is now the time? Sorry, it's a little late for it.
I'll allow it if you would, yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to ask about like the timeline for implementation, like with the policy coming Friday and like the elections code coming December 2nd, I think is the date. Do you intend for like the representation changes to make it into the elections code policy for like next year, or can you just give another brief rundown on like the timeline of it?
Yeah, so for the timeline, we have to send it out to the assembly by this Friday so that we can vote on it subsequently at our next meeting at the end of the Thanksgiving break. I just want to emphasize the governing documents changes, the Constitution and the bylaws, it's different from the elections code. The elections code changes will be made in the meetings that Stephen holds, and then of course will be brought up separately. So it's just distinctly separate, but I'd be more than happy to talk to you more extensively about this whenever you'd be available.
I would like
Thank you.
Can I expand on that a little? Just because I'm the co-sponsor of that legislation. If it passes the assembly and is approved by J-Board, these changes will go into effect for the 16th assembly, for the community group changes as well. We're not changing anything in the elections code and the community group stuff just because it turns out all the stuff we need the changes in the Constitution and bylaws.
All right, are there any other comments for the good of the order? All righty, seeing none and seeing that Secretary Thomas has already taken closing roll call, I adjourn this meeting at 8:51 p.m. Have a wonderful break, everybody.
Have a great break, everyone.
It's been fun. Have a good one, y'all. Take care. Stay safe.
Have a good
Overload on cookies and pie.
Have a nice break, everyone. You deserve it.
Thanks for the message, Tony.
Great background, Dan.